But it was just frustrating on a couple of levels, not just that game. Just a recent run of games, our play hasn't been very good.
No, it
And
hasn't. It hasn't.
so I think it's becoming a little bit of a worry. And I'm not, I don't know what to pin it on because I don't want to be reactionary and say, oh, it's X player or it's the
Mm,
manager,
mm.
etc. Because I've heard, like I know we've talked about in this pod before. Some people have been talking, oh, it's like watching Nuno again, watching Mourinho again, all that kind of stuff. That's utter tosh.
Well, I think there's an element of truth in it, just because the Conte game is all about drawing teams in so that you can break, and
Hmm,
that is similar to what Nuno wants to do, and also Mourinho, but it's done it slightly differently. And of course, you don't with Conte get all the get all the Mourinho negativity
yeah.
and everything else that goes with it. But but yeah, there is a lot of that going on. I feel personally that there's a bit of negativity in our play at the moment.
Hmm.
But then if we were breaking up the pitch, scoring 3 or 4 goals, you forget all about that because that's exciting. That's what you want to see.
But I mean, Conte is apparently, so the rumours go, happy with the squad that he's got now. It doesn't look like we're going to do any more purchases.
No,
And we're going. And I wonder if some of that is rooted in the fact that we've had quite a lot of changes, and some of the, maybe there could be an argument that, and although he's tried to be sort of fairly consistent with the team that we've had since the end of last year,
hmm.
but there's a lot of change in personnel, and that could be one of the issues that's maybe changed some of the dynamic from their practice. When they're practicing before matches. I don't know. Obviously we're just guessing here,
Hmm.
but it will just take time for those players to settle. Like Basuma, again, there's no doubt that he is an incredibly talented player who will be a real asset, like Richarlison, even though he's not scored a goal for our team. It's just going to take a bit of time for them to fully integrate,
Yeah.
and that might be half a season.
Well, it could well be, yeah. But I agree with you. I think having a settled squad is the key thing.
Yeah.
And normally, once you get past these transfer windows, everybody relaxes a bit more in
Mm.
terms of. Sorry, go ahead, Rich.
Oh no, I was just going to wait for you to finish, Andy. I was
No, that's
just
all right.
sort of
I was
yeah.
just talking crap.
Oh, all right, okay, fine. I just wanted to say, about all of this on both of those points, really, that
Mm.
I think we have to look at both the performances and the bedding in of new players through the lens of this massive run of games we've got coming thick and fast.
Yeah, for
So on
sure.
one side of it, players like Bissouma and maybe Spence and Perisic and the new guys that are coming in
Mm.
are going to get a lot more minutes than they might normally get in their first half season at a new club.
Yeah, true.
So I think that sort of embedding process will probably be quite shortcut this time.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean that's probably a good thing. I know there is this sort of narrative that Conte needs a week to prepare for games, and he only really ever does any good when he does have an awful lot of time with players, and obviously he's not going to get that. But then again, they're going to have to learn to be adaptable much more quickly, and this might be the making of them. It might be that in having to shortcut the process of preparation for each individual side, they're going to have to think more clearly as a cohesive unit much more quickly. And I think that could benefit us probably in the short, not immediately, but maybe within 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Then players like Basuma, just because of the rotation of games we've got, will have had a couple of hours on the pitch rather than a few minutes.
Yeah, true.
Um, the other side of it is this sort of this passiveness about our play, whether we call it negativity or whether we call it tactical nous or whatever we're going to call it. I think Mourinho used to call it resting off the ball, didn't he, or some other such Portuguese toss. And he is that I wonder whether or not that's tactical setup that is also being instilled with them. We have got a marathon of matches coming in the next 8 weeks. You cannot go all hell for leather at this stage of the season because we have got to try it and save those legs. And I wonder whether or not they're going, all right, well, we're going to be a bit more conservative in our play. We're going to cut funding for school. Oh no, that's a different sort of conservative. We're gonna we're going to allow play. We're going to this drawing out and then breaking, but we'll do it in a more methodical way. We'll perhaps take a bit more time about it. We will perhaps allow teams to come on for a little bit longer before we press to turn the ball over or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether or not that's the thing, because in the last few games of last season we saw that abandoned entirely, and of course the impetus was to get fourth place.
Yeah.
But the secondary thing about that was they only had 4 or 5 games or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
And they just went, right, fucking go for it.
Yeah. And one game a week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this might be just the opposite.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, actually. Yeah.
I wonder though. I mean, I mean, it's an excellent point actually, and I think that probably is part of the reason. But I also wonder then, why have we got a bigger squad? Because surely the point of all of having a bigger squad is then to keep fresher legs and rotate more, so we can cope with all of this and go at every game, put each game one at a time, and put everything into every game. So then you rotate for the next game. I just wonder at the moment though, like if you like taking Richard's point, is that perhaps they're not quite ready yet. So because they're not quite ready yet, in terms of knowing the system and being up to speed, fitness wise, whatever it is, technically, etc., knowing the patterns of play, therefore he's having to rely upon the old guard that does know this more, and he's playing that system. I don't know, but that would
bit of a chicken and egg
sense.
though, isn't it? Because they'll only be ready once they start playing, and we won't know, or he won't know until they actually do. So
yeah,
it's it's a bit of a weird one, but yeah. But I mean, one player that everyone, and we've alluded to already, that everyone is noticing is just kind of absent on the pitch is Sonny. He just looks like a player who achieved something last season, and it was a big achievement to get the Golden Boot. And it's almost like it's as if he's saying to himself, "I don't know whether I can do this again." It's Go ahead, Lee.
I've got a feeling that it's not so much that, because you can see him beating himself up. I think he really does want to do it again. He is, that goal. If it hadn't been an own goal, he would have scored it. So it's not like he isn't putting a shift in. It's just not happening for him at the moment. And I have a feeling that the pre-season not only took a lot out of him, but in terms of he was in Korea doing a load of work before that, which must have been exhausting because he didn't really have a holiday or a break of any kind. He was doing a lot of work for the club. And I wonder mentally and physically if that's taking its toll. For me, he will come good again. Of course he will, because he's a world-class player. But he just looks like he could do with a couple of games out. Let Richarlison have a little run at it because he deserves it, and then bring Sonny back in because I think he just needs to clear his head a bit.
And of course, that's bound to happen in the next few weeks, isn't it? Because with all the games, we have no choice. We're going to have to rotate and switch and do these things. So, but that's another thing about last night I found really odd, is the fact that we only made one sub. I thought, why are we doing that? We've got all these games coming up. So this means we're going into Saturday with almost all our team that started last night. And if he's planning on starting them on Saturday, then they're going to be pretty tired, aren't they?
And by the way, that's going to be one of the toughest games yet, because Fulham actually look like a really decent outfit.
They're one of the decent, more kind of average sides. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And Mitrovic, nailed on to score. He's scoring in every game at the moment. So I think that will be a test. But I'm glad Romero's back for that.
Yes, and Bentancur as well.
Oh, Bentancur will be back.
I think Conte said last night he's
good.
He's available. I think as far as Conte is concerned, he's back, regardless of what the medical people say.
He's only got half a head.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's a bit like Højbjerg last night, wasn't it? He'd obviously turned his ankle, and he was saying, maybe I need to come off, and Conte was just ignoring him.
It's like, yeah.
Brilliant, fantastic. That's what you need, isn't it? Just complete ignorance. But yeah, so would you both agree that last night was a bit of a game of two halves? We probably won the first half, they won the second half, and draw around, or should we have been a bit more careful with their goal? Because looking back at their goal, I just felt there are a few things going on there that I'm pretty sure that Conte is not going to be very happy about. When that
You-
ball was thrown in,
mm,
Basuma was walking, not looking at the ball at all. He was just walking
mm,
back. Højbjerg was ranting and waving arms at someone, and Perisic had his back turned.
mm.
So that's pretty poor, isn't it? You'd
It
expect a
is,
lot more.
yeah. But to be honest, I think Lloris put us under a lot of pressure as well. Normally, he has a very solid game, but he made some howlers yesterday. I thought at certain points, and I felt it looked like it was going to have one of those games where he'd just make a complete clanger. And I wonder if
Yeah.
their strike force just sniffed that, because he looked edgy and he didn't look comfortable at all at points.
Well, I've noticed in the last few games that he's wanted to punch the ball a hell of a lot, when
Mm,
in fact you probably could have actually caught it. And I don't know whether this is something he's being told to do, or, as part of the coaching, but
maybe.
I just felt that was a bit odd last night. There was certain things that he was punching out that just didn't, to me, look um, necessary at the time.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as their goals concerned, you just think it was a comedy of errors, did you guys, or was it something that we probably could have avoided?
Well, I think yeah, it's the trouble. The trouble with it is it's separating it from the fact that it felt inevitable by the time it happened.
Mm,
Yeah, it was
And
coming,
so
wasn't it?
yeah, I mean, I think the comedy of errors goes probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes before it as well, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
they were obviously in full swing by the time they got it. I often wonder why we don't do more of a physical job on Antonio, because if we keep him quiet, then we keep all of them quiet,
Yeah.
and we never seem to.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the
That's a good
goal as
point.
well, Conte was fuming in the post-match interview. He basically just said, if we had kept our concentration, it wouldn't have happened. He was not happy at all.
Yeah, the concentration was completely gone.
Mm,
And I found that so surprising when, you know, it was a throw in right by our penalty area. I mean,
mm.
why go to sleep at that point? That just seems really odd. But
I
they
don't
did.
know. I mean,
So
I mean, I can't imagine the atmosphere got to him, but it kind of felt like it did.
yeah, yeah. Maybe it did. Yeah, maybe these games do affect them. Maybe Basuma, as well as his yellow card, he felt affected by, it being a London derby. And of
Mm.
course, he hasn't really played in a London derby, has he? So
Well, and
maybe,
the other thing is, a few of those players are fairly newish. Haven't played, like Perisic won't have played in a London derby.
yeah,
Richarlison won't have played in a London derby. You
true.
and we and our the fact is, don't mean to sound again a bit victim mentality here, but every London derby is a massive one for us, because Arsenal always want to beat us, Chelsea always want to beat us, West Ham always want to beat us. The
They
other
do.
ones are always going to be well up for it, but those three ones, they're like
Yeah,
three massive derbies
yeah.
who passionately want to beat us. That makes things much harder for us, I
That's the
think.
price you pay for being unpopular, though, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to be
Oh
Tottenham
yeah.
Hotspur, everybody hates us. So,
Well,
hey
that's
ho.
and they do just have to develop that mentality
Yeah.
where they can be calm in those hostile situations, because
Mm.
and all the best teams do. They can go to Besiktas, wherever it is, and there's flares going off and fires being set and all this kind of stuff, and the players will just do their thing. You've got to be
Exactly.
able to keep your head and your nerve in those hostile
Yeah,
environments.
you've got to concentrate every minute, definitely. But yeah, yeah, there we are. Okay, so So we've been going for about half an hour now, and today, of course, is the end of the transfer window.